The paper is sitting on the kitchen table when I walk in. It is a single sheet, folded in thirds, with a blue ink stamp in the upper right corner. My mother is already crying. She has been crying for 11 minutes. I know this because I watched her from the hallway before I stepped through the door, and I counted the seconds the way Nesta taught me, the way she used to count raindrops on the window of our grandmother's house in Multan. 1, 2, 3. My mother's hands are trembling around a cup of tea that went cold before I arrived. She looks at me like I am supposed to feel something. I look at the paper. Welcome to Calm Revenge Tales, where justice doesn't always arrive loudly, but it always arrives. If you believe that the quiet people in our lives deserve to be seen, subscribe now. This story is for every person who was told their duty was to disappear. My name is Zora Raymond Siddiqui. I am a contract pharmacist, which means I drive between 3 hospitals on a rotating schedule. I carry my own liability insurance, and no one gives me a pension. I built that. 8 years, 3 license renewals, 17 continuing education credits every 2 years, an emergency fund of 42,000 rupees in a separate account my family does not know about. I am the second of 4 children. I am the one who left Lahore at 24 and came back at 31 when our grandmother needed someone. I am the one who stayed. My youngest sister's name is Nesta. She is 12 years younger than me, which means she was 6 when our parents' marriage became a performance, and she learned to read people the way others learn to read weather, by the smallest signs, by a change in air pressure. She has a mild bilateral hearing loss that was diagnosed late, at age 9. Because our mother thought she was ignoring her, and our father thought she was slow. She is not slow. She reads 3 languages. She grows tomatoes in terracotta pots on the balcony and names them. The tomatoes. She names the tomatoes. When I visit, I bring her pharmacy-grade saline for her sinuses, and I sit with her while she eats. Our family feeds her last. I have never once said this out loud to them. I simply arrive early, and I make sure her plate is first. Nesta's spoken lines come out spaced and deliberate, shaped around the silence she has learned to live inside. The first thing she ever said to me that felt like a door opening was, "You don't eat here like it's a performance." She was 19. I understood immediately. The call came from my brother-in-law, Tariq, on a Tuesday in March. My eldest sister Ruqayya had undergone her 3rd failed IVF cycle. They had used all 4 of their own embryos. The family had decided, and this is the word Tariq used, decided, as if a vote had been taken and I had simply missed the meeting, that I would carry a surrogate pregnancy. I was 35, unmarried, a pharmacist, which they seemed to equate with available. I would carry Ruqayya's 4th embryo, the one the clinic was holding in cryo at a cost of 7,000 rupees per month. And I would do this because I was the only one whose body was, in the family's assessment, unoccupied. I said I would come to dinner to discuss it. The invitation arrived by voice message from my mother, 47 seconds long. The conditions were stated plainly in the final 12 seconds. Come alone. Don't bring Nesta. She upsets Ruqayya. I saved the voice message. I always save them. This is a habit I developed not out of strategy but out of a pharmacist's instinct. Document everything. You never know which record will matter. I brought Nesta anyway. I told her she didn't have to come. She said, "I know. I want to." The irony is that she was the only one at that table who had never once asked me for anything. Dinner was lamb karahi with too much salt, and a rice dish my mother makes when she wants to appear generous. Ruqayya sat at the head of the table, that is technically not hers. Tariq sat beside her with his hands folded. My other sister, Benazir, was there with her husband Owais, who spent the meal examining his phone. My father sat at the end and said nothing for 40 minutes, which is the longest he has been quiet in my memory. The conversation about the surrogacy began before the second helping was served. Tariq laid out the proposal like a business case. There was a typed document. 1 page. It covered the medical procedure, the timeline, the expectation that I would move into Ruqayya's house for the 3rd trimester. It said nothing about compensation. It said nothing about my own healthcare costs. It said nothing, in 32 lines of single-spaced text, about what would happen if something went wrong with my body. It was a document designed to feel official without being binding. Nesta was watching me from across the table. Her hands were still. She had not touched her rice. Benazir said, "It's the least you can do, Zora. You don't have your own family." I looked at her. I let 5 seconds pass. "I have Nesta," I said. Ruqaya's eyes went to Nesta immediately. Then she said the thing. The thing I had been feeling in the air since we arrived, the pressure drop Nesta could have predicted before anyone else in the room. She said, "Nesta isn't really your responsibility. She's ours. You've just made it difficult for us to take her back." Take her back. Like a return. Like a coat left at the wrong house. Nesta's chair scraped back. My mother said, "Nesta, sit down." She did not say it gently. Nesta stood up. She did not look at my mother. She picked up her water glass, carried it to the kitchen, and set it in the sink. The sound of it settling against the steel was the only sound in the room for 3 full seconds. I stood up. Tariq said, "Zora, we haven't finished." "We have," I said. Awais almost said something. I saw it. His mouth opened a centimeter. Then he looked at Benazir and it closed. I put my hand on Nesta's back. We walked to the door together. My mother called my name once from the hallway. I turned around, and what I saw on her face was not anger. It was the particular look of a woman who has just realized that a resource she assumed was permanent has become finite. I recognized it. I had seen it on patients' families. I nodded at her once and closed the door. This was not what being expelled felt like. This was what leaving felt like. The difference matters. The months that followed were not dramatic. They were logistical. I moved Nesta into my apartment. She took the second room, which I had been using as a storage space, and within 2 weeks it contained her terracotta pots on the windowsill, 3 library books, and 1 tomato seedling she had carried in a plastic bag across the city. I bought a second toothbrush holder. I adjusted my grocery run from Wednesday to Saturday so she could come. These are not sacrifices. These are the adjustments of a life that is now correctly sized. The costs were specific. 1,200 rupees per month in additional utilities, 400 in transit because she had a standing appointment at the audiologist in Gulberg, and roughly 3,000 in incidental costs. A new winter coat because hers was too small, a data package so she could use her phone without worrying, once a packet of seeds for a variety of tomato she had read about that supposedly grew in low light. 18,000 rupees across 6 months. I made that calculation in less than 4 minutes. I never mentioned it to Nesta. My family made contact twice. The first was a text from my mother. Ruqaya has found another option. But the family would like you back. Come for Eid. The second was a call from Tariq, who said they were prepared to discuss appropriate recognition for my support of Ruqaya's journey. He used the word journey. Both times I said the same thing. I'm not available to participate in this without Nesta. Both times, there was silence on the other end that felt like a door not quite closing. Nesta asked me once in November if I missed them. Some of them, I said. Which parts? The lamb karahi. She laughed. It was the first time I heard her laugh so loudly that she covered her mouth afterward, surprised at herself. There is an object that lives on my kitchen counter. A small square tin, red and dented, that belonged to our grandmother. My mother assumed it was worthless. It contains nothing remarkable. A few old photographs, 2 folded letters, and a small handwritten card in our grandmother's script that none of us could read because she wrote in a dialect none of us had learned. I had kept it because Nesta had once, as a child, picked it up and held it for a long time without speaking. I noticed that. I kept it. I did not know what it said. By February, Nesta's health had been declining for 3 months in ways that were slow and then sudden. The audiologist had seen changes in her cochlear function. The specialist at Services Hospital used the phrase, progressive degeneration, On a Tuesday afternoon at 2:47 p.m., while I sat in the chair beside her and held the small red tin in my bag, because she had asked me to bring it that day, for no reason she could name. She passed in April. A Tuesday again. She was in her bed, and the tomato seedling on the windowsill had 4 leaves on it. She had named it before she stopped being able to speak clearly. She named it Zora. Her last spoken words to me were, "You always ate like it was real." I have turned that over in my mind every day since. If you're still with me right now, if you've been holding this story alongside your own quiet ones, subscribe so the rest of it finds you. Our grandmother died intestate, without a will, or so the family believed. That belief had organized 20 years of assumptions about property in Multan. A house on a lane behind the old clock tower, for .3 canals of land attached to it, and a rental structure at the rear that had been generating 11,000 rupees per month for a decade. My mother assumed it was hers. My aunts assumed it was divided equally. No one had pressed the issue because the informal agreement was that the matter would be resolved eventually. And eventually, in my family means never. The letter arrived in June, addressed to me, from a lawyer's office in Multan I had never heard of. The lawyer's name was Advocate Hamida Qureshi Baloch, and she wrote in precise, unhurried Urdu that she had been retained by our grandmother 15 years ago to administer an estate document that was to be released upon both our grandmother's death and the death or legal emancipation of a named beneficiary. I read the letter twice. Then I looked at the small red tin. Inside, beneath the photographs and the folded letters, was the handwritten card. I had never had it translated. I called a colleague at the hospital who was from the same region. She translated it in under 3 minutes, standing in the hospital break room, frowning slightly at the script. It said, "The one who stays and the one who is left behind, they are the same. The house is theirs." Advocate Qureshi Baloch had arranged the meeting for the 4th Saturday in July. She had contacted all parties directly. They all came. My mother arrived first, in the good shawl she reserves for official occasions. Ruqayya and Tariq arrived together, and Tariq had brought a folder, which told me he had been preparing his own version of events. Benazir arrived last, with Weiss, who had finally put his phone away. I arrived with the tin. The advocate was direct. The estate document was formal, registered, witnessed by 2 officials 15 years ago. The house and land were assessed at market value as of that month. 2.3 crore rupees. The rental arrears, calculated at 11,000 per month over 10 years of legal accumulation, totaled 13.2 lakh. The beneficiary named in the document was Nesta Rahman. The room went still for 4 seconds. Then Ruqayya said loudly that this was fabricated, that their grandmother had been manipulated, that a dead girl could not inherit property, and that someone needed to be held accountable for this. My mother put her hand over her mouth. Not in grief, she was calculating. I watched her do it. Her eyes moved to the window and back 3 times. Tariq said more quietly, "She's gone. It transfers to her estate." Benazir said nothing, but her husband Weiss, who had spent 2 family dinners looking at his phone, turned to look at Benazir with an expression that I can only describe as a man realizing he had been sitting inside a story without knowing the genre. There was something visible in him that I think was shame, or the beginning of it. Advocate Qureshi Baloch explained the legal succession. As Nesta's sole legal guardian and the person named in her own notarized medical and financial documents I had prepared 18 months earlier with a lawyer friend, not out of strategy, but because Nesta had no one else, the estate transferred to me in trust, to be administered according to guidelines Nesta had set in a secondary document filed simultaneously. Nesta had known. The advocate had met with her. Nesta had signed her own name in the dialect she had taught herself to read, the same dialect as our grandmother's card. I put the red tin on the table. I said. She said, "You always ate like it was real." She meant this. The room was quiet for a long time. After the meeting, I made one offer. I told my mother that the rental property could continue to be managed by whoever was currently managing it, and that the income could be used for the family's communal needs, if the family agreed to a documented arrangement, reviewed annually, with Advocate Qureshi Baloch overseeing it. I said I had no interest in anyone leaving their home. My mother said, "After what you did, you have no right to offer anything." I nodded. I picked up the tin. I left. The house in Multan has been formally transferred. The 2.3 crore rupees in property and 13.2 lakh in rental arrears exist now in a trust with my name on it and Nesta's guidelines inside it. 1/3 toward a hearing accessibility fund she had researched herself, 1/3 toward educational support for girls in the neighborhood behind the clock tower, and 1/3 held for 10 years before any other decision is made. Tariq filed a contestation. It was reviewed and dismissed in September. He and Ruqayya have not contacted me since. Benazir sent a single message in October that said simply, "I should have spoken." I did not respond. I did not need to. My mother lives in the same house. I do not know what she has told people. I know what the document says, and documents do not change their minds. The seedling Nesta named Zora produced its first tomato in August. A Pusa ruby variety, small and improbably red, about the weight of a golf ball. I made a salad with it, just olive oil, a pinch of salt, and the tomato cut into 4 pieces on a white plate. And I ate it standing at the kitchen counter alone with the tin open beside me and the card inside facing up. This was not my grandmother's inheritance. It was Nesta's. And what Nesta left me was not the money or the land. It was the knowledge that the quiet people already know what they're worth. They're just waiting for someone to eat at the table like it's real. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if there is a person in your life who gets fed last, check on them today. Not tomorrow. Today. Subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me whose name came to your mind just now. I'll see you in the next one.